I think this might be the Grand Seiko I've been waiting for. Today I have a full review of the Grand Seiko SBGY013 Omiwatari. It just became available in our store Carrot & Co, and today I'm going to break down this review into several sections so it's easy to follow along. Before I get into that, subscribe to my channel if you love Grand Seiko and if you love learning about watches. I noticed about 94% of my viewers are not subscribed, and by subscribing it lets me know that people enjoy longer reviews so I can continue to produce longer form content like this. Alright, now let's talk about the new Grand Seiko. So the dimensions on this Grand Seiko SBGY013 are the exact same as the other SBGY cases. That means the dimensions are 38.5mm with a 10.2mm and a short lug-to-lug of 43.7mm. But keep in mind that because it is on a bracelet, that the end link to end link comes out to about 47.5mm. In general, this size is basically universal, and my wrist is about 6.4 inches, so this is an easy sweet spot for me. If your wrist is like mine or you prefer a case under 39mm, then this will fit great. Now, one of the newest changes to the Omiwatari is the new 9-link steel bracelet with a mix of Zaratsu polishing on the center links and brushed satin finish on the exterior links. The bracelet starts at 19mm from the case and tapers to 18mm at the clasp. I'm going to go in more detail about the bracelet in the FAQ section of this review, so just hang tight if you're wondering more about this. When the watch is on my wrist, the case lays flat and it's comfortable due to the slight curve from the lugs. Like all Grand Seikos, the case features distortion-free Zaratsu finishing, which is most evident on the case front facing the viewer, while the sides have brushed satin finish. You'll notice there are no lug holes on this dress style case, so you will need a standard spring bar tool to swap off to straps. As you go into the dial, the GS logo and indices are all diamond cut, and the curving continues onto the indices and hands to match the dial, which basically makes the entire watch dance like sparkles of light hitting all of the facets. There are double indices at 12 o'clock, which follows the basic principle of Taro Tanaka's design language for Grand Seiko, while the rest of the dial remains symmetrical with minimal text and a GS logo applied. The dial mimics the natural phenomenon Omiwatari, or God's Crossing, which resembles frozen Lake Suwa with jagged ridges coming throughout the lake. This texture was created by a mold that craftsmen used different types of hammers to create this pattern, so each Omiwatari will have the same dial pattern for consistency. Now, unlike the blue Omiwatari, this dial is pure silvery white, like freshly packed snow with a sparkle. The only pop of color comes from the tempered blue seconds hand, which is heated blue by craftsmen at the Shinshu watch studio at Seiko Epson, and it glides with the perfect cadence across the dial thanks to the mesmerizing spring drive movement. Even though it appears to be a time-only watch, it does have the power reserve indicator on the case back, which is placed on the hairline finish bridge with blued screws. Obviously, when glancing at this case back, it may remind you of the Grand Seiko Masterpiece or Credo or Echi 2 case backs, but a much more simplified version. This is the perfect casual everyday Grand Seiko to me, and here are 3 reasons why. First, it's a silvery white dial Omiwatari, which makes it easy to see the details in different lighting and easy to match clothing. Secondly, this is the first time an original Grand Seiko bracelet has been put onto this case, making it suitable for daily wear without relying on straps. And lastly, with the spring drive movement, the watch has a guaranteed 1 second per day accuracy, 72 hours of power reserve with the indicator on the case back, so it's super reliable and clean. It's priced at $9,000, which is a $700 difference from the SBGY007 Omiwatari, to basically account for the bracelet price, which goes for at least $1,000. Now let me answer your top questions about this watch. Is there a micro adjustment on the bracelet? Sadly, there is no micro adjustment on this bracelet, but each link is about 0.7mm long, so you can adjust it as close as you need. Most of my bracelets in my collection don't have a micro adjustment, and for me this works fine since I live in New York and we get 4 seasons. But I can imagine that if I lived in a humid climate, that I would depend on that micro adjustment a lot more. For now, I treat this like the bracelet on my Cartier Santos. Each link is short, so I can make sure to get the perfect fit, and when sizing the bracelet, I recommend keeping the 6 o'clock side short so the dial of the watch hangs and faces you properly. How would this watch look on straps? Because this is a white dial Grand Seiko, it basically is a blank canvas to work on any strap. I recommend playing with different materials like suede and also different colors like green, blue, and grays. But it's pretty much going to look great on most leather strap combinations without much effort. I would avoid a NATO or rubber strap on this watch just because to me it wouldn't fit the aesthetic. How do you adapt this bracelet to the other SBGY series watches? Now, if you want to order the same bracelet for your other SBGY watches, the price is about $1,100, which is priced in line with Grand Seiko's other 9-link steel bracelets. And this is what the bracelet would look like on the SBGY007, and it would look basically the same on the other SBGY series. Now in the past, myself and others have put on a Grand Seiko Beads of Rice bracelet onto the SBGY case, which works, but it was never a perfect one-to-one fit even though it had the same 19mm width. There always had to be some slight modification, like bending the tips of the spring bar in order to make it work, but Grand Seiko definitely heard our demands and ensures that the end links for this bracelet matches this case exactly with the code 311. The bracelet looks the exact same from the SBGK series, but even though they both have a 19mm lug width, the end links are different. SBGK series uses 211 end links, while the SBGY series uses 311, and these codes are stamped on the interior of these bracelets. Keep in mind that these codes may not translate over to other Grand Seiko bracelets, so to keep it simple, only order the bracelet from the SBGY series for SBGY watches, and only order SBGK bracelets for SBGK watches. How does this dial compare to the blue SBGY007? It's very similar in terms of pattern and shine with a glisten, but obviously this one is white dial. Now when you compare it to the Snowflake, you can clearly see that the 013 dial is silvery white, more like the white birch, while the Snowflake is more matte white. From my experience, most of the Grand Seiko dark dials only reveal their details in proper lighting, so I tend to lean towards the lighter color Grand Seiko dials just so you can see more details, and the legibility is always great. Now here are my final thoughts. When I first saw this watch, it actually reminded me of the Omega DeVille, an underrated, mostly overlooked casual dress watch with a very similar style bracelet. And the other watch this basically reminds me of is the Snowflake, but in a casual dressy format. Like most of you, the Snowflake was one of my first loves with Grand Seiko, but over the years, I've been wanting a thinner spring drive for every day, and this Omiwatari on bracelet just nails everything on the head for me. When I look at this watch, this is one of the most modern Grand Seiko watches out there because it pretty much follows the philosophy of making the perfect everyday dress watch. So you might be asking, who is this watch for? If you're like me and you haven't owned a Grand Seiko spring drive in this style case yet, then you'll definitely enjoy this. If you're looking for a watch that has a spring drive, wears thinner, and is very clean symmetrical dial, then this will be very attractive. But if the price is a little high for you, because it's priced at $9,000, then the Grand Seiko Snowflake or the classic SBGY013, the Taisetsu, these watches are going to look great because they're still in that $5,000 to $6,000 range. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you'd like to purchase this watch or learn more, please contact Carrot & Co., an authorized dealer for Grand Seiko.